Hello everyone, Tucker here, bringing you the next episode of my Let's Play of Demon's Souls. So in this episode I'd like to talk about how powerful the NPCs are in comparison to you. So I'm hitting these enemies for roughly, I want to say 20-30 damage each. Now Ostrava, he hits the Armored Knight for like 128 damage. This guy is a badass. His normal attacks are my critical attacks. Yes, I'm hitting them for around 32 damage apiece. Ostrava hits the more heavily armed one for far more damage. So, that's really the thing about Ostrava. He is not the Slayer of Demons. He's not the hero of our work. Well, I stand corrected. It sort of looked like he did only 9 damage. But point is that Ostrava does that's where it was. I thought he had hit for 129 damage, and that was a composite between my magic and his weapon. But Ostrava, he's set up to be the hero of this game, while not being the hero. That is, of course, you. You could also just be the villain, go around invading people. But that's just part of it. He's a helper. He's somebody who's in the game to help you exist and help drive you forward. Now, one of the other things that I like about this game, aside from the NPCs, is the use of level design. We have these areas that are just there, more or less, to teach you specific things. If you had thrown a firebomb at one of these guys, you might have seen this effect, which would do a ton of damage, which, along with everything else in this game that is red barrels, shows you that they explode. Now, that's nice because later in the game, there are lots of areas where there are just barrels of exploding barrels stacked on top of each other, and they're a trap that you can die to. So it's important. Now, level design here is important because, and this level really shows off a lot of it, but other levels show it off even more. Level design and the use of intersecting paths to become maze-like are important. I don't get trapped in them because I understand where everything is. However, a new player will potentially go into an area and end up going through the level in big circles, not realizing it. And this is nice and all because it enables the player to continue feeling that sense of wonder, that sense of feeling lost, something that's new. This is a feature that I really like because you don't see this very much in the later Souls games, where you can attack enemies before they can attack you. And it's a nice little touch. It harkens back to a younger era of game design, I want to say. It also harkens to Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, tabletop role-playing, where this kind of thing was possible, though in those settings those enemies would be climbing through the window to get to you after that point, or just taking cover. But I really like just allowing the design to be maze-like, allowing the player to get lost, because that's something you don't see very much anymore, which is honestly really sad. It's how you make, honestly, it's how you make a linear level not as linear, because if you can get lost on a level, it no longer becomes linear. It's no longer just go from point A to point B and just do that over and over. Once you know where you're supposed to go, it is sort of like going from point A to point B, but it's like that it's similar to driving. You can get lost in a city, but if you know what roads you're supposed to go on, you're not going to get lost. So, it's just how it goes. And this is actually an example of verticality in this game. So, what that means, verticality just refers to a level being able to be higher than itself, having multiple levels. As you can see there was an area where we could fall into. There was this nice little pit that we helped Ostrava out of. There's a nice little area that I'm running away from now, that basically has, I believe, a merchant in it. And then there's all this other area, and all this means that you can make something that's more of a fortification. You can segregate things off, and everything works. So right here is something where you're probably going to get hit by that regardless of what you do. don't really feel bad about it. If you don't use those, there's actually a really hard fight, and over there in the distance you can see dragons and just looking around. But yeah, verticality is important. It means that you can, and this is a great level for it, because you have these two little bastions on the side, these two little towers that add a lot of vertical height to it, but both paths go to one of these towers. And that's really great. That's really good. I'm a large proponent of doing that in your level design, because it lets you get away with compacting your level together. Lets you get away with a lot of things. The other thing that I actually like a lot is circular design. So I was just talking about those towers. The path you go through to get, basically to get through this level, is a gigantic circle. And that's nice for the simple reason of, if it's a circle, you're going to come back to the beginning once you unlock it, which is stupidly important because that's right where the boss is. And a lot of levels in Demon's Souls, they did this. A lot of it was you go around in a big circle if you choose to actually just not go straight to the boss, and you can unlock a shortcut that makes it far easier to get to the boss. Here I'm looking for a shrug because the dragon breathed fire twice, and really this circular design is what makes this system work, because you can have a really punishing level that's hard, but if you have these small shortcuts that you can open up, it becomes less tedious. So we're just being allowed to see some of the aspects of this game working for themselves right now. This nice long area. That area that we just came out of is a chore if the dragon is not there. You can clear them out, it just takes a lot of time because this is a very defensive oriented game. But as you just saw there, I guess a magical riposte, I guess. But as you can see, the rapier, while it is a strong weapon, it's not the best. Now, this area is a pain in the ass, as I just said, if you are just brute forcing your way through it. Everything in this game is sort of designed to stop you from just brute forcing and going through it as fast as you can. Just how it works. Ooh, special music. So there was, did that cut in game actually to try and make it a bit more dramatic, but if you notice something there that I actually liked that Miyazaki did with this game was that when that boss is introduced, that first boss, it's slow, it's deliberate. You see the chains moving first, you just don't see the monster coming out. You don't even know what the monster looks like yet unless you've played the game. So you just know it throws big spears. Big, I guess that would be counted as a ballista, I think. Ballista bolt. But anyway, we're going into the second part of the big circle that I was talking about. And the thing is that in this game, we could get back to that big circle really easily. Like if we died right now, as I think I sort of get stun locked around here. So, I guess you could say that was showcasing how useful the stab attack, the keep your shield up and stab attack is for the rapier and the spears. Which, I just want to point something out. In actual fighting, you would always want to have your shield up defending yourself so you can stab or slash. Like, the characters of this game, people talk about how realistic it is, but it feels realistic. It isn't actually realistic. The rapier stab and the spear stab are the most realistic part of this game. Okay? Okay, so now we see a new enemy. In Dark Souls 2, this enemy would never work because it permanently has a shield up as I get stabbed by an attack that was nowhere near me. Okay, so this enemy would not work because its shtick is that it can block and attack at the same time. It's entirely built to do that. So, and these are sort of the minions of the Horde boss. I sort of wonder if I could push it off by just dodging into it enough times. Pretty sure I could. These guys are a nice little area. These guys are a really easy way to farm hardstone, I think it is. And they're also right next to the beginning, because, as I said, big circle. Now, these guys are really easy because they are only intended to be part of a boss, and they're put here more or less to teach you about them. Most new players run up and attack the shield a bunch, get stabbed a few times, maybe die, and then they realize that, oh, I have to go around it. It's vulnerable there. If you just did not have any of that information and went straight to the boss, you'd probably end up being screwed. Alright, so here I think I'm looking through all my stuff, taking off the extra grass I don't need, pulling out the turpentine. I know there's some really cheap ways to beat this boss, but honestly it's not very hard. This boss is a defensive horde boss. So, to put that in perspective, a defensive horde boss is based on one major axiom, and that is that they are defensive. They have lots of ways of attacking you without doing well, let me put it this way. They have lots of ways of defending themselves against damage without putting themselves in danger. The boss also is built so that you have to kill his minions before you can kill him. I believe that if you do enough damage to him, he just eats one of his own minions. So you could, in theory, just attack the core until he eats all of his minions and then kill him. But don't focus on that. So here I almost died, so I'm just doing the panicked roll of, oh crap, I'm gonna die. So that's another aspect about defensive bosses. Their entire point is to get you in a position where they can hit you a lot of times, deal a lot of damage, and possibly kill you without taking enough damage to threaten themselves. And this boss, I have to get through his minions before I can hurt him. The other thing about the level design in this game, all throughout that level, you were given fire bombs, and you were given turpentine. This tells you something about the boss, because each level should be built around the boss. Let me put it this way, each level should be an analog for the boss in some major way. The level we just defeated was based around being defensive. You have to work your way through it, killing every single enemy. And it's not really obscure, but think about the analogies here. You had to fight your way through, the enemies were opposing you, a lot of them have shields, running into a lot of enemies who have a big buckler or a small shield and they stab with their spear. That's analogous as to what's happening right now. There were a lot of weak enemies, which is analogous to this boss's horde component. He has all these multiple allies that support him. So, good on From for that. I don't remember the story of this boss though. I think it was something along the line of, like, all these extra ones are supposed to be people who died with him or something? I don't know. So let's talk about the layout of this arena. So there's a lot of enemies. Just imagine having to fight this boss in a short corridor or a long corridor. It'd be impossible. You would get screwed because all their shields would be facing them. But it's a nice open area, and since they have a lot of throw and ranged attacks, there's these nice huge pillars for you to hide behind. You can effectively hide from their attacks, not take any damage, and hopefully survive. But don't get me wrong, this is the easiest boss in the game, short of Allant himself, because he's not supposed to be a boss. supposed to just be a joke. And that is... I forget what this guy's name is. I forget. Can't remember. But you kill him, all of his little friends drop, you pick up his soul, see what his name was. Lead Demon, I guess. And that's that. I'll see you guys next time.